remove that. That. Perfect. We'll go. There we go. That's good. I like it. How are you?
Doing fantastic. And yourself, sir?
I am good, buddy. I'm good, yeah. Morgan's getting all the cameras set up.
Okay.
So, how many hours is on that motor? What's that motor in?
So that's a New Holland LS 180 skid steer with detachable front. So it's a forklift material handler type unit.
Copy.
Bigger skid steer.
Okay.
And that was a 3-cylinder 332T engine. So that's their bigger 3-cylinder.
Okay.
Horsepower rating wasn't advertised, but I would assume probably anywhere from 50 to 75 horse.
It was like non-turbocharged thing?
It is turbocharged, non-intercooled, basically just a giant hydraulic, just a motor driving hydraulics is basically all it really is.
Copy. So you brought them in, like we've been buddies for a long time, and you're like, hey, can you check this out? And I was like, yeah, I'll meet at the shop half hour. So I came in, we tore them apart. They were pretty gross. We found some really abnormal, like spray pattern on the outside of the nozzle. And to me, like I've never seen that before, but I also don't work on a lot of like tractor type stuff, I guess. You and I did see that there was potentially a pattern worn in on the needle valve to where one of the nozzles was seating, and like we talked about it, and we're like, well, do we make new nozzles for $600, or do we try and modify these? We risked trying it, and $150 later, you were 3 injectors installed in the tractor, and it was working well, which that made me kind of happy, because like the only thing that we really did, we turned down the AFM super low. Well, I guess it wasn't that low. It was 1,600 PSI of pressure is what she was using. And I had her shove like 100 cc's of media through them just to balance them, kind of a thing. And I do remember specifically that they were fairly well balanced initially, like 34 to 36. And for an OEM part, that's really not that far off. And I did flow check them before we had the guy put them back together downstairs. And we got them all up to about 36 and a half. So I wasn't stressing running it too hot because I didn't modify them really. I just enhanced K factor and cleaned them back up. Yeah. But last night I got sitting on the couch and I got thinking, oh man, I didn't hear back from Jason. So that's either A, really, really bad news, or B, really, really good news. Because nobody ever hears about good news. But so your experience is good though?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Put them right back in, dropped in, fired right up. I mean, I didn't even really have to do a bleed procedure on a mechanical engine, which was a good start. No smoke on startup. It was, for all intensive purposes, it was a cold engine when I put them back in. The engine had been sitting not running for 4-ish hours, so I would call it cold. No smoke on startup. Then once I bumped it off idle, it was perfectly crystal clear. Like the exhaust was nice, evenly hot. So I could tell the cylinders were balanced, more balanced than they were when I took them apart, or when I was diagnosing the concern. So instantly right there was much nicer. 3-cylinder engines are notoriously balanced engines. They're kind of oddball. So at idle, there's a little bit of lope to it, but way significantly less than was previous. And then once we got it under a load, it was just purring right along. Like it was putting up, I probably would estimate they put about 1,000 pounds on the forks and did it perfectly fine. No chopping, no sluggishness in the hydraulics, no choppy in the hydraulics. Like it just smoothed everything right out. And zero smoke, zero, no white, no blue, no black, nothing. And I mean, so from there, she was, you wouldn't tell that she had anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 hours on her. Like she was almost to the point where you were like, no, she's a solid engine, but that is that's a 2001 build. So, I mean, 24 years old, and she just looked magic.
Wow. That's cool.
The customer was highly satisfied with that. Had the normal operator run it, and he was like, build right back to the way she was a handful of years ago.
Huh.
So,
Good.
and that was, and you can choose to use this. There was a tractor company that came out, New Holland dealer came out and basically rebuilt the fuel system, everything minus the injectors. Fuel tank was cleaned out, new lines put in, new injection pump put in and timed, and the only thing they didn't touch was the injectors.
That's weird. I would think that they would do that, like at the same time as the pump, but you did try to order a new set of injectors and they showed up and they were wrong.
They were just flat wrong. Wrong.
I wonder if cataloging has them wrong, or I wonder if that part is almost extinct, and that might be what they're like. We did look at it because it's just a pea-sized nozzle. And as I told you, I could make these, but it would take me 2 or 3 days to get them in line and get them made. And there's going to be additional cost to that. So anybody out there that's fighting any sort of parts problems as far as like supply issues, like just remember, guys, we can make you parts. I just have to have one of the original pieces in hand, measure the angles, measure the hole sizes, get the flow, and then I can blueprint that and make it if you're running into situations that you cannot purchase parts anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, obsoleted parts are a problem now, especially coming into the, mechanicals are obsoleted and outdated. And I mean, that's what this is. It's just a pure mechanical engine. So with that being said, on the diagnostics approach is that a lot of people are overlooking the injectors, thinking that they're just a mechanical piece of whatever.
Yeah.
They can't fail. No, I mean, mechanicals injectors can fail and they can come out of balance maybe, with this kind of issue where this was a inconsistent performer. Cylinders were down in temperature, causing an imbalance on an already inherently imbalanced engine, such as a 3-cylinder engine.
Yeah.
So, you're already kind of fighting something. But if you overlook the simple stuff, that's where you're running out of problem. This customer was, I think, around $7,000 deep into a fuel system, and the problem was not fixed.
That's a bummer. And that was a very unique situation because I didn't have a tool to properly hold the injector in the vise. So we had to kind of make do with what we had, and we didn't tear anything up. We got them torn apart. They were pretty tight. And then Nick, we had him check the opening pressures, and they were, like I think he said, 250 to 270. So not knowing what data we should have set them at, we set them at 270. And I'm sure that from the OEM, it was probably higher than that because I'm sure they settled down. But we did set all three at 270, and we balanced out the nozzles basically perfect. So, I mean, if you're happy and your customer's happy, then I'm happy, and that's what, that's all that counts right there.
Like I said, the operator jumped into it, and he would have swore that this engine was now 5 years younger than it was. So maybe 2,000 hours younger than it was, which, again, for a 24-year-old piece of equipment that is a material handler, like that is gold, right? That's end customer, end user, smile on his face, happy to pay the invoice. Everybody's good to go. Like that's what we're at. That's what I'm after.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both know we've been around engines long enough to know that if you have proper compression and it doesn't run correctly, without ignition being a source of problems with gassers, we basically have ignition off compression and fuel. So if we don't get the fuel to atomize at the right time every time, then the motor's going to run out of balance because you got compression, boom, that's one problem. We don't have ignition systems, so we have to rely on compression to ignite the fuel. We've just got to make sure it ignites on time. And it sounds to me like, like the injectors was just maybe it should have been the first thing they looked at, but they didn't. But whatever, they got their $7,000 and they're happy.
Yeah, so I mean that's really what anybody's after, right? Is the end result being what you want it to be. Now I can explain it to anybody who wants to explain, but the reality is imbalance in diesel engines is a problem, especially in mechanical engines. Like you need that evenness across the engine to make it happy. More cylinders, the more that gets mass. There's more mass to turn, so you're going to miss that. On a Cummins, you're going to miss a little bit of a cold hole on a 12 valve. That doesn't mean the system's running right. It just means that you're missing the problem. So always, like the little things matter. The basic stuff matters. And You can dump all the money in you want, but an unbalanced engine is still an unbalanced engine. You're missing horsepower on the table because you got one cold hole. That's
in a situation like you've described to me. If the motor isn't smooth and it's basically just operating a big hydraulic pump, then the hydraulic system is going to see all that pressure surge and spikes, and that's going to be hard on the hydraulic system, I would assume.
Oh yeah, no, and it's a chatter capability, right? You're sitting there beating the coupler up, you're beating the pump up, you're running the engine incredibly too hard. If it's down 10 horsepower off a 50 horsepower, 75 horsepower engine, that's a percentage loss. That's gonna kill the whole system. Now you got an ineffective piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And in this instance, it was my end user was on the fence of buying a new unit versus just repairing the old one. And if we would have kind of looked at it from the beginning, and I mean that is what it is. Looked at it from the beginning, this would have been a very simple fix for marginal cost and a very cost prohibitive number, and the customer was happy, and then it saved him a monthly fee, a business expense that maybe just didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted a new unit, but I couldn't give him the price to make that choice.
I guess the one good thing about this situation is 20 years into it, he's got a new injection pump. 40 years into it, that pump might be non-existent. So at this point, he's got 20 years worth of service life, because really, that motor will probably go 8,000 to 10,000 hours before it's worn out.
Yeah.
So I would say the guy's going to have 20 more years worth of service out of it, and by then, hopefully he's retired with lots of money and he's in Mexico on a beach.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Right? So, no, and again, I owe you so much, Lenny. That was clutch work, and it's always great to hang out with it for a day and see the new business ventures grow so much, man. That facility is amazing.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, no, I appreciate it, and you're always welcome to swing by. But it was it's kind of fun to do weird projects once in a while.
Weird will come along the way. Don't worry about that. We don't have to try for weird.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you again, brother. Dude, that was clutch. That was a life-saving moment for me. That made my customer really happy.
Yep.
That I didn't have to push it out another week to order another set of injectors and hope they were right. I had a resource down the street that was, like you dropped everything and came over. And that to me is gold.
No, I appreciate it. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I actually just got done fixing another engine, and I'm on my way home to hang out with the family for a little bit, then go play some hockey.
I like it. All right. Well, you be good.
Yeah, you do the same, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jace. Bye.
Bye.